Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel where today I am providing an update because I actually feel pretty good. Just yesterday I had some extreme difficulties even carrying out basic actions. And by basic actions I mean even eating and sleeping were difficult. And it wasn't that I didn't sleep. For an example, it was recorded that I slept 15 hours. But my sleep quality was quite poor because I woke up super frequently. I had trouble holding food down, and some of that was due to an extreme head pressure that I don't quite know how to explain, except for it's something that's happened now twice within the past couple of weeks. In general, people especially on this platform, will tell you not to share any kind of things that you're doing with other people. I'm sitting right here in the sun taking on the full solar intensity. It's 80 degrees outside today. It's going to be about 50 degrees tomorrow with an overnight low near freezing. And right now you can hear all kinds of things. If you listen closely, you can hear an ambulance. There's quite a few birds chirping around me. They're probably all waiting to get to these feeders, and they'll possibly do that while I'm sitting here as well. And for me, I'm enjoying all of the experience, including the cool breeze that might be foreshadowing just how cold the actual breezes will be tomorrow. And I'm also getting in just a little bit of, sunlight. Sunlight is something that many of us do not get regularly. Some of us do if we tend to our own yards. And for all of those things that we are doing to tend to our own yards, to our own selves, those are the things that tend to make us all the healthier. Not everyone tends to their own yard, their own body, and I've definitely been off track for quite some time. I received some news today that one of my relatives is having some intestinal trouble, and so I'd like to first of all send out a prayer of healing to my cousin, and I hope that they're able to recover easily and quickly. Some of the things that help us to recover are to take action. For an example, for me, I've definitely been gaining weight. It all kind of started around the pandemic when all of the new ways to order an abundance of foods came to be. And some of those things were things that were convenient at the time. And as I've mentioned particularly on my other channel, things of convenience oftentimes come with a cost. And some of those, for an example, throwaway items that we've amassed and continued to amass, and especially as we've now unmasked from the pandemic, continue to present themselves. As another example, typically as I walk around this neighborhood where I live, there are masks all over the ground, all over the roadway, in addition to cigarettes, plastic bottles, bottle caps, and so forth. This area is one of the richest areas in terms of wildlife where I can go regularly to see wildlife. And not too long ago, I posted a video about a birdhouse that's on that tree. I don't know that we can see it, but it's on that tree that has the bird feeders. And it's actually up there. I think you can kind of see it right up there. So in that birdhouse, which was knocked down one time by some hungry animals last season, the birdhouse was knocked down because there was a very challenging winter and summer that we went through. And that caused there to be a significant decline in the foods that were available for the animals that are here in the neighborhood. The animals here in the neighborhood seem to be able to thrive a little bit more easily than those in the wild right now, because in the wild, there are no caches of let's say for an example, cat food, dog food, any kind of food that's outside, that people might be tending to, like let's say fruit on the vine. And last summer, we didn't have hardly any fruit after the month of April, actually March. Around that time frame, we got into a cycle where the temperatures here in San Antonio, Texas, got into the 100-degree range for many days in a row. Whereas in the past, sometimes we would reach 100, maybe, a couple of days every so months, and that was that. The plants here were okay to tolerate those extremes, but last year, because the temperature was over 100 for many, many days, and because there was no rain for such a significant amount of time, the plants began to suffer. And when the plants suffer, well, so too do the animals that normally would benefit from those plants. And for that reason, life has gotten extremely difficult for many of the animals right here in this neighborhood. And since I walk the trails around this neighborhood, around this city quite often, I can see that life has become exceedingly difficult for all of the animals all over the place. And I ended up going so far as to take a journey and to travel the entire West Coast last year. And I saw that this was happening pretty much across at least the portion of the nation that I was able to bear witness to. So a lot of us may overlook some of these things or think that, well, this is cyclical, some of these things will change. But some of us are actually starting to take action. And when we take action, that means to pause some of the things that we've been doing for so long and to start something new. And so for some of us, I want to express the fact that we probably should pause the ways that we've been celebrating and feasting for so long, and maybe we need to consider fasting. And so I've talked about this on my other channel, and I've showed the benefits that come with fasting. But fasting has to be done almost in silence, because the moment you tell someone that you're going to be doing this, they get very concerned, because for their whole life, for all of our whole lives in this country, many of us have only known feasting. We have not known fasting. And because of that, we can get scared. And fear is the number one driver of inaction. Like sometimes we'll be afraid that we can't run a mile, for an example. And so we will shy away from it and try not to ever take it on because it seems challenging. Now, all things that we have never done in the past can in fact be challenging. And so starting out slow and steady is probably the best way to accomplish some of the things that we have not ever accomplished in the past. For an example, fasting. If you've never fasted for a period of time, you might want to consider first fasting from a specific type of food. If you're solely interested in the cattle industry for the beef that it produces, as most Texans alongside me probably are, then you might want to consider fasting from beef for an entire week, or gasp, an entire month. And for that time frame, you might want to consider being appreciative of the other things that you have. Now imagine if you fast from food entirely and just go on an extended water fast. How much more you can appreciate all of the things that are not food related or entertainment related. Some of these processes that I'm talking about for a specific reason. And at the same time, I'm just kind of saying what comes to mind on this channel. And what comes to mind generally is the thought that we are overlooking the things that we're supposed to be stewards of. Some of us are parents, and we should be stewards of our children, stewards of the environments that our children grow up in. And some of us forget to tend to our own children. And a lot of reasons for that are the way that we've been brought up in certain circumstances. I'm not trying to say we should shift the blame and just be entirely absolved of those oversights. What I'm saying is that it might pay to pay attention to thinking in a different way, in a way that is more holistic, more beneficial, and more joyful. So if you do enjoy joy, then hopefully you will enjoy this clip and the paradox of all of the imagery that you're seeing, and maybe even the very paradox of seeing me and hearing this type of topic. So thanks for everyone who's been watching and sharing and enjoying these topics. For everyone who gets, let's call it, triggered by thoughts of the lack of eating, for an example, or what's called fasting, for people who get triggered, all I've got to say is that, I think that all of us get triggered. Most of us get triggered when we're exposed to something that we know we are deficient in. And if we are in a nation, or even not in a nation, if we are in a mindset that there are books of peace that talk about certain things, fasting is something that was talked about as a requirement, not as a suggestion. Fasting and prayer are absolutely important. And some communities, some countries, some religions will call it meditation. And some people will get offended that someone calls it by meditation. It's the same as hearing the word, for an example, exercise versus yoga. These are triggers. So for any trigger happy people out there, well, I'm in Texas, and so any one of us can be triggered at any moment. And if you have your concealed permit or not, it doesn't matter. It's either something we carry out in anger or something we carry out in truth. There is a spirit of truth and a spirit of error. And the spirit of error will continue to do things that will manifest as problematic. And so I try to gently talk with my counterparts about these issues, and I'm constantly given what appears to be pushback. And so for that reason, I wanted to come out and make this message, share this message that has a lot to do with the fact that I'm not trigger happy. I'm actually quite patient. And despite that patience, I can tell you for a fact that when we talk with people who do not believe in peace, it can take away our own peace, because these people who will continue to attempt over and over to take your peace might not even know that they're doing it. They might not be doing it on purpose. Forgive them, for they know not what they do. Because of this, we might also forget to look inside and be introspective and look at the mirror and recognize, hey, we haven't always brought people peace either. And so now that we have this great divide when it comes to communication, when it comes to this great divide, now that we have this great divide, what can we do to improve our conversation? So some of my conversational workshops have talked about, for one, words of peace. If you often get triggered, listen to an anger management course, attend one. There's plenty on this channel, on YouTube, that you can find, I should say. And in fact, a lot of the things on this channel or my other channel have to do with constructive outlets for things that might have formerly been manifested as careless anger and hostility. So these are just some basic thoughts. I hope that you're enjoying your day. Again, today it's 80 degrees. I just wanted to soak up some of the sun and get that vitamin D, and to make sure that I am improving my health in all ways possible. I've got my bare feet on the ground, and my dog's wanting to go inside now, so I guess it's about time for me to sign off. Hope you guys are having a great day. Until next time, peace, love, and all that old school stuff.